He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
The real estate industrial complex. You have well over 120,000 people telling you daily that real estate's the best investment you could imagine.
And Upton Sinclair was right yet again. So the reality, and then the thing is, let's just talk about how bad their math is, right?
Yep.
I mean, besides the fact that, let's talk about the point of impact, right? The point that they decide to buy something. So if someone would come to me and say, I'm thinking about buying this investment property because my idiot cousin made money. Okay, no problem. I'm not going to judge him. I'm not going to be biased. I'm going to let the math dictate what happens. So you've been shopping around? Great. Yeah, you found this place down the street. It's going to cost $400,000 for this condo. Okay, great. Whiteboard, $400,000 goes up. All right, so you're going to take out a big mortgage, right? Let's do the math. Here's what the mortgage is going to be. Here's your down payment. Okay, great. Here's your mortgage payment. Here's the maintenance costs, taxes, everything else. Let's find out. You need to make this much per month in order to break even. Let's look at the rental rates. Oh, look, you're cash flow negative.
Yep.
And you know what universally they all said? How's that possible? I said, you tell me. Here's my iPad. Feel free to search whatever you want. You tell me. And they're like, well, universally, how are all these people making all this money off of real estate? My response was, A, you assume that they are because they can do the math, right? And I'll tell you about how bad that gets because we just did some math and proved how bad it was. And B, like the guy who laughed at me, he was talking about 15% per year. That is the only thing they are betting on, right? And historically, throughout all of history, have landlords solely relied on price appreciation as the means of return? Absolutely not. It's all about
virtually never.
Virtually never.
Professional operators, it's never.
Never, right? Yeah. Because you factor in depreciation and everything else, your math gets pretty bad. So let's talk about the idiot cousin. The idiot cousin basically was like, oh, look, I bought this place for $400. I sold it for $600. I made 50%. Well, let's take a step back. What about your friction costs? What about the actual real estate fees, everything else? Did you count any of the interest payments throughout that basically were, or interest payments as a cost, let alone the principal payments that technically represent another investment into that? Did you count all the condo fees and the taxes you paid? No, but I sold it $600 and I bought it $400.
Well, let's do some analysis on that because it's out. Every word is true, and let's see where people fall in the trap. So, yes, they're cash flow negative.
Yeah.
Yes, if you bought at the correct time, if you bought in 2012 or 2011.
Luckily, not prescience, but yes.
Yeah, and indeed. And you may not even have closed. You may have sold by assignment.
Yeah.
You may have somehow forgot your obligation to report that increase to CRA, the money you made. That's possible. Forgot, slipped your mind. But that was real. But let's have great clarity on this thing. That was a bet on a market. It's like investing isn't wagering, right? That's not the nature of investing.
Well, it can be. It can be gambling if you do it a certain way.
But it's not the way that
correct.
It's not what we're taught to do.
No, it's not.
Okay. So that's what happened. Somebody made a bet on the value of the condo going up in that precise time frame. The 5 years between the purchase in 2012 and the completion of the condo in 2017, it did indeed go up. Won't get into the reasons yet, but it did indeed go up. It was sold by assignment. Somebody pocketed $125,000. Might have forgotten to tell CRA about it. Might have got caught later. But at the end of the day, that was gambling and not investing.
Correct.
Okay. And it worked. It worked that time.
Well, let's also talk about the unique aspects of assignment and what happened in this marketplace. First of all, let's recognize that assignment in itself, even though you're not borrowing from a bank, represents the biggest form of leverage I've ever seen in real estate.
Yes, sir.
You put down $5,000, you get 100% of the upside between on what happens with that property before it closes. $5,000, yes, you got to make additional incremental expenses, but you can flip it at any point. So is it feasible that you would get a 400% return on your money before your second payment? That happened to a lot of people, right? Now, as you saw, and I'm sure you're aware, the builders started to basically recognize they were giving up too much upside. And suddenly these pre-construction stopped being deals. I remember one case just like this where a friend of mine came to me and said, yeah, we're thinking about buying that place that's going up down the street because, hey, we were thinking maybe buy investment property. And I looked at him like, they want how much on pre-construction? I said, you realize this is 20% more expensive than the one that just the same builder closed on last month. Like, you were literally paying a premium for something that wasn't going to be done for 5 years. They were already baking in the upside into the price, because again, that's how feverish it got. That's how feverish the assignment market got. It was, and we saw cases with assignment markets where individual units would flip 20 times prior to close. So
I haven't seen 20, but obviously
there was one that was studied. I'm sure if I pinged Ben Rabideau on this one, he'd tell me which one, but there was one case in particular which was like, it's all foreign sales too.
All foreign sales.
Oh, yeah.
So like that profit didn't even stay in Canada.
No.
So that is a fact. And there was a period of time where that absolutely worked. Money was made. Now, we're sort of circling back to Dutch tulip bulbs. We're going back 575 years, okay? The implied value of your purchase was strictly a function of what the last person sold it for.
Correct.
It has no fundamentals. There is no financial fundamentals. There is not, by the way, not even close to your point. I mean, wait a minute. If you actually closed on this and had to rent it, you've got to find somebody who's willing to pay $4,300 a month for a 525 square foot studio. Okay, this person does not exist. Okay,
that person shouldn't exist.
But they didn't. Turns out they didn't.
Shocking, amazing.
All right, so let's think about the probably the worst thing that can happen to an investor is that something which was entirely dependent on luck, worked for a set period of time. Now you've got a world of interest in this thing.
Remind me of my friend, the friend of mine that when we first time went to casinos at age 18, he went into slot machines, and then his technique was to pull the arm instead of hit the button. I'm sitting there going like, that's not how it works.
Because that fixes everything.
Because that fixes everything, right? First time I went, I went over under roulette pretty big, and I'm like, okay, let's try the system again. Guess where we're went? Nowhere.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the worst thing you can do as a gambler is win the first time and think that it's your skill.
100%. But that is indeed what happened. And by the way, it didn't just happen from the first pull or the first visit to the casino.
Second, third, fourth.
If you bought in 2013, if you bought in 2014, if you bought, well, it kind of started to peter out in 2015. But if you bought multiple condos, successfully sold them by assignment, all was well. And there's a whole other part of this marketplace. There's a marketplace of buying houses and, low-rise townhouses. Mainly single family was what was bought. It was tarted up. People would say, all right, so I'm buying this old house and I'm going to put the IKEA kitchen in. I'm going to paint it. I'm going to fix up the landscaping. I'm going to take it from being vintage 1970s into something that looks more current. And I'm going to sell it for a massive rise.
I'm going to do that over and over again, claiming the principal residence exemption, which CRA has already said, sorry, that's a business.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.